just owning a home, that's going to be one of your biggest investments, and it's so important because it's going to accelerate your wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about the average millionaire in America right now, the average millionaire is not what people think it is. It's not the person riding around in the Benz that, because it's not liquid. The average millionaire are net worth millionaires, and most of their assets are in real estate. Exactly. They became millionaires because they own a house here that's 150. They own another house here that's about 300K. They own another house here, and all of these assets has added up to where their net worth is now $1 million because the equity in the house. Yeah, and now they appreciate it.
All right, everybody, we have a great episode for you today.
No doubt, as usual.
We're going to start with welcoming our guest, Brother Richard Spears. What's up, Doc?
Yo.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, where you come from, what's going on?
Definitely happy to be here. Have a great conversation with you guys.
No doubt.
Yeah, just a brief background about myself. I'm a native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I grew up in North Baton Rouge, not too far from the popular nightclub back in the day, Dreams. On Brady Street, man, right there between Plank Road and Acadian. So,
okay, all right.
Grew up there, man, and went to high school here in Baton Rouge at Capitol High. Went to Southern University, and it's crazy, man, because I actually used to be kind of insecure about my educational background, man, because Capitol is definitely not cited as the best school in Baton Rouge, right. If that makes sense. And then even when I was at Southern, I dropped out of my junior year and actually started, working and things of that nature. So, but I guess I could be a kind of testament that, even if that doesn't work out for you education-wise, you still can do something with yourself. But besides that, man, I worked on the railroad. I was a conductor riding on trains for 12 years. Yep. So
how did you get into that though?
My dad did.
Ah, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
say that's a rule.
You're going to get out here and work and get in this union and get these guaranteed funds.
Yeah, but what's crazy is, man, he actually didn't want me doing that. Yeah, he actually didn't even know I filled out the application because his thing was for me to go to college, finish school.
That's like a lot of our parents.
Yes, I'm about to say you sound like G.
Yeah.
But I just seen friends graduating. One of my cousins graduated from FAMU, man, and we was actually going to school for the same thing, which was business admin and marketing. And I saw him graduate, and he didn't have a job, man. He was working at Target. And so my thing was, man, I've always had that entrepreneur spirit and just been a hustler. And I was just like, man, okay, if I commit another 3 years or 2 years of this, what's gonna be my return on investment? Because I was actually paying for my tuition. Like I was working and paying for it, which was a blessing because I didn't have any student loans when I did leave, and I just couldn't see a return on my investment at the time, especially for what I was going to. So that's pretty much what led me to actually go and work at the railroad, because I saw his checks. He would leave checks out on the table, so I knew it was a good job. I mean, it paid 6 figures, and so. But he, like I said, he wasn't excited about it at all. But I did that for 12 years, man, before I actually started selling real estate.
Okay.
And what's funny about that, you get that degree, like, all our parents was like, yeah, you need to go to college.
Go to college.
Go to college. That's the answer to everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if you don't get the right internship or whatever while you in college,
See, that's the part of the game they don't teach you.
you gonna come out with that degree in business admin and student loans.
And no job.
Or if you get a job, the starting entry gonna be the same price that you would have made. The people with no student loans and no
Right.
education, they right there with you.
Right.
You know, we all getting this 37,000.
While you playing, that's how it was for me. You know, I was working part time at Singular, and my classmates was graduating, getting jobs, making $40,000. I'm like, man, I'm making more than that part time. What y'all doing? Like this don't make no sense. So I completely get it.
But you know what's funny about that? I want my son to go to college. I want both of my boys to go to college.
Right.
Right.
I'm still the same way. I see what my dad was saying, but
But let
Go ahead.
me ask you this. So when you went, and we've had this conversation on some previous podcasts, but when you went to college, do you feel like you had a plan going into college, like you knew exactly what you want to do? The reason I asked is I figured you want your kids to go to college, but I'm sure that you will equip them with the plans and the ideas that they need. Like they're not gonna go to college like wasting their time on some BS major.
Right.
Like you need to go out, you engineering, all right, cool. You could do something with that.
That was the component that a lot of our parents was missing.
Exactly.
Like they felt like college was the answer, and it may have been in their generation, but college with no plan
It's
waste
not
of
an
time.
answer.
Right. You gotta be real specific these
Like
days.
if you like, look, I want y'all to come into the family business with me, but I want y'all to go learn a few things.
Right.
And so I'm gonna send y'all here to go do that.
Right.
Then that's cool. But you gotta have that plan.
I definitely agree. And I did not go into college with a plan.
Me either.
Yeah,
I feel
I
you.
didn't.
So even though you're the entrepreneur, why? Let me ask, why do you insist that your kids go to college?
So I would say for two reasons. One of the biggest reasons is relationships. So one of the biggest keys of my business is relationships and having the right relationships with people, because that's been the whole foundation of my business. And so with any school, like even when it comes to like the private, the culture of private schools here in South Louisiana, like me personally, I don't think that you have to go to a private school to get a better education, but I do think you can build some great relationships at private schools.
Right.
I think that to be true. But outside of the relationships that you can build in college, it's certain things that you can learn. It again, if you have a plan going into it, who knows? They can go into college and learn how to grow what I'm already starting bigger than I ever dreamed it could be.
Right.
So those are the two reasons: just relationships and just always being able to learn how to create value.
I can agree with you on that aspect because I didn't finish school. People ask me why you don't finish. But I majored in, I feel like I make more money as an entrepreneur not doing it.
Right.
But at the same time, I still don't feel like I wasted my time because I built my network off of all those college friends. All the people I met in college are now my clients, are now still lifelong friends, and now that's my network who can recommend me to other people. So if you do have a structured plan and you're going into a specialty field like engineering, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a nurse, all this stuff works for you, but just know that you got to go plan to go to grad school, plan to hit them higher, because graduating with that first degree really ain't nothing right now.
No.
Like you said, you basically making nothing. And they gonna tell you need more experience, you need another degree. But for me and for an entrepreneur, it still can benefit you in the fact that you get a network and you get all those people from different walks of life throughout different states and all of that.
And I'm in corporate America, and I didn't finish either.
Yeah.
But I will always appreciate my college experience because of my network, like Shag said, and also just the experience of being around people who don't think like you. Because you come from wherever you come from, it's a very segmented part of the country. Right. So then you meet people from this place and that place and this place with different perspectives, different outlooks, different mentalities, and that kind of shapes like your thought process a little bit. And that's an experience that I will never trade, for anything in the world.
Yeah, gotcha. So I know we talked a little bit off air about your background, how you got into real estate, and so we just want to kind of hear it again on air, like how you got into real estate, what inspired you, what motivated you, was there a particular person, just how did you get into it?
Yeah, man, it's crazy. So when I was growing up, around my teenage years, I used to hang out at Gilbert's Barbershop a lot. And there was a barber there by the name of Dre, and I remember Dre got into real estate. He started buying rentals. His first rental was actually right 2 houses down from the barbershop. And he had this book back then called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I know everybody's heard of it. Yeah, everybody's so many people has read it. And so he actually He actually was talking about that book a lot back then, man. And at the time, I was like 15 or 16 years old. But it wasn't until later on in life, and I would say about 28 or 29, when I started to see changes coming at the job that I was working. So at this time, 'cause up until then, I had always done entrepreneurial things. Starting in high school, I was a party promoter. I threw parties in high school. My 10th grade year, I started throwing parties. Before that, I sold candy. I did all kind of stuff, man. I had a studio at one time on Dallas Drive. Did all kind of things, and it wasn't until I was at that job at the railroad is when I became comfortable and complacent with that salary.
Right.
And I had kind of lost that edge, but I started to see some changes coming out of there with technology being able to replace people. So right now, at this moment, computers are driving the trains.
Right.
So they don't even need people on the train. And so with me seeing that coming, I started to think to myself, like, I have to be able to pivot and do something to make sure that we still have income coming in.
They need a contingency plan.
Exactly. And so I thought about Dre and I thought about that book. So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Gave me a big mindset shift, man, just a big paradigm shift on assets and liabilities. And so from there, I just had tunnel vision on how can I create as many assets as I can to cover my liabilities.
Right.
Which is when I got into one to own rentals. Just kind of fast forward in 2016 when the great flood happened, man. One of the rentals that my wife and I own, it flooded. We didn't have any flood insurance on the property. I mean, the house is in Park Forest. I mean,
Yeah, it wasn't in the flood.
yeah,
zone, huh?
Yeah,
no
right.
flood zone or anything like that. Who'd have thought that a house would flood, you
Right.
know? And so, man, that really wiped us out. That wiped our savings out. And so I just went into that hunger mode again, man, which was the greatest thing that has ever happened to me. Just being back in that hunger mode, which is back up against the wall, and then brainstorming about what I can do. I decided to get my license and sell real estate because I had all this general knowledge about investing in real estate, and so I knew I can create and bring some value to the market. And so, man, I was literally not sleeping. I was going to work at night. By this time, when I started real estate school, we had really ran out of money with putting the house back together. So I was working on the house at this point. Everything was done except for painting and flooring. And me and my friends painted the inside of the house and put the flooring back in. So I'm working at night. I'm getting off in the morning. I'm going to rehab a house.
No sleep.
And then, no sleep at all. And then in the evening, I'm doing Bob Brooks' online class to get a license in real estate. And then I go back to work, maybe get like 2 or 3 hours of sleep on the train when no one's looking, and do it all over again.
Man, that focus got to be off the chain. 'Cause, man, I'm taking a real estate class, and like doing that after you get off from work,
Right.
Like that's not easy, man. Especially like one of them self-paced classes.
Right.
Oh my God. So man, props to you, bro.
Yeah, man.
But how did that impact you, like health wise? I know you say off air you did it for like a year and
Year
3
and 3
months.
months, yeah.
Like, how did that
man.
impact you health wise?
So fast forward, going through getting the house back online, and I got my license now, and now I'm selling real estate. So just to keep this in mind, man, my first 7 months in real estate, I didn't sell a house. So I always like to throw that out there because I don't want people to see social media and think that it was always great.
Always
It wasn't,
success,
yeah.
right.
Because I know I sell a lot of houses, but it wasn't always like that. My first 7 months in real estate, I didn't sell one thing. But one of the things that happened in the first few months, I thought I can wing this because I knew a lot of people. That's not true. You have to get out here and grind and hustle. And so it wasn't until I started taking a lot of classes and learning how to sell real estate is when things started to pick up for me. And you're right, man. I wasn't sleeping. I was sleeping like 2 or 3 hours a day. My health had really started suffering. Like I was feeling different. I had gained a lot of weight because I was eating so bad. I had no time to exercise or really eat right like I had used to been doing. And so, man, it was really tough. I remember breaking down in my bathroom because, like, man, just worried about what my wife would think with me letting her know that, hey, I don't think I can go back to work. I can't do both. And like, man, I'm a big optimist. She's a pessimist. We're exact opposites. So I just knew that, what happened to family, 2 kids, and just knowing that how women are wanting that security. Like, I just wondering what was going to be a problem. I remember calling her that day, just like to know, like, I can't do both. And I don't want to ride on trains anymore. Yeah, I found something I'm passionate about, helping other people do something that I've been passionate about for the past few years. And just having her give me that green light was like really.
So she gave you the green light off from jump?
Yeah, man. So when I called her and had had that conversation with him, man. I remember like it was yesterday, and just in full transparency, man, I was even crying, bro. I'm not gonna front like I broke down and cried.
So I'm married too, bro, and I'm like, I'm thinking of putting myself in your shoes. Like that's tough.
Yeah, it was a lot, man.
That's tough.
Because when you go from having a steady check coming in to not knowing if you will have a check,
Right.
that's big, man. And so I just remember her telling me, I understand, but we're gonna be okay.
Bro,
That's powerful.
you had to feel like $1 million. Like,
So, man, when she said that, I got up. I'm like, it's go time, man.
Yeah.
oh,
I took a
bro.
leave of absence, and I never went back to that job, man. And I really did turn up because it allowed me to really devote all of my time into building a real business, and I did. I really did build it up and turn up.
Man, that's
Okay, just to
that's
get some
dope.
clarity on it, at this point, had y'all built a nice little savings back up to where you felt comfortable if you didn't sell a house for a while, or was it just I'm out on the leap of faith?
I'm just jumping.
Yeah.
So from jump, I knew that I had to be in a position to be able to pay my taxes because I knew no matter what, I'm not going to stop investing in real estate. So the savings that was saved up was really the tax account.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really the tax account because when you're 1099, you have to take care of your own taxes. You got to make sure you're putting money up.
Right.
So yeah, we had savings, but it wasn't that great. So I was really, really stepping out on faith. And that savings that I'm talking about was really the tax account just to make sure I can pay my taxes.
Man,
Yeah, I really did really step out on faith, man.
that's a leap.
Yeah.
That's a leap.
Yeah,
So,
man, that's dope.
so you got into real estate. You went from being a conductor with the trains, got into real estate, but now you have your own business.
Yeah.
And so we just want to kind of hear like how you took that next step into owning your own business.
So man, I'll give a lot of props to Keller Williams, man. When I first decided to get my license, I came across the guy who started that company, his book, The $1,000,000 Real Estate Agent. And one of the things that people don't know when you get your license is brokers that are interviewing you're interviewing them because they need
Right.
you. You don't need them.
Right.
And so I interviewed a lot of brokers, and it just so happened I fell into the Keller Williams office because of their training. And I had already read that book before I got into real estate. And all I've ever done was run my business by that particular book. And most highly successful real estate agents, that's all they've ever done, even if they're not with Keller Williams. They all run that business by that book because that book is really a blueprint on how to net $1 million selling real estate.
Right.
And it's just nothing but the principles that everybody else that has already done that has did it. So that's what I did, man. I used that book to build up my business, and one of the things that they promoted was, so like even though you would have broke like Keller Williams, you don't work for those people. You're just in partnership with them.
Well, let me. I don't mean to interrupt you, but for our listeners who might not really understand how our whole system works with brokers and realtors, could you kind of explain that piece of it? Because you said you had to interview with different. Well, you interviewed
I
different
interviewed
brokers.
them,
Yeah, you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how does that work?
So the way it works is, for one, you have to have a license for 5 years before you can become a broker yourself. Before then, you are in partnership with whatever broker you choose. And so in choosing a broker, you have to choose someone that's going to be able to provide value to you because they're making money off of you. And different brokers have different situations. So for example, some have 80-20 splits. Every time you sell something, they get 20%, you get 80%. And you have two at this point. And before then, it was only Keller Williams that had a capping system to where once you sell so many houses, you're capped and you keep 100% of your commissions. And so with the average price point in Baton Rouge with Keller Williams, it only takes about 11 houses to do that. And I say only because that's not that much now.
Right.
But yeah, but
Now it's 11 houses in a month or 11 houses in a year.
in a year. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Back in
Yeah.
the gap, that might have been hard, but
I'm
now
about to say you can sell 11 houses in a year.
Yeah, so it's really not that hard to sell 11 houses in a year. So that's what that broker agent relationship looks like. And so that broker is supposed to be providing you with value in the form of training, systems, tools, and things of that nature. And in return, they get a cut of what you're doing. And so outside of that, outside of the training and the value they provided, that capping system is what made me choose that particular brokerage, because I knew, okay, I sell 11 houses and the rest of y'all keep all of my money.
Right.
I can do that. Yeah, that's nothing. So what I pay into being into partnership with them and the value that I get on the outside of it, it just makes the most sense because my overhead is not that high.
Right.
Yeah, because they're carrying most of the overhead
Correct.
and most of that things, and I'm allowed to build my own personal business within that partnership with them, because I have a what we call a real estate team, where it's other agents up under me, and it's just like having a business within someone else's business or a partnership.
Gotcha. Man, that's
If that makes sense.
nah.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense, man. So since you started the business, man, how have things been going? I mean, I was just telling you off air, man. I see you heavy on social media, so it looks like nothing but success. But man, how's it been for you?
Man, it's been great. It's crazy, man. Every year since I've been in business, it has doubled, like literally doubled. Every year, the income, the production has doubled year to year. And what I'm most excited about now is being able to have that team and pour into other people, because before it was about how much can I do, how far can I push it, and now for me it's waking up, figuring out how far can I push my agents to reach their personal level of success, whatever that goal is. That's like and it's like anybody that's working for me have to have goals. That's like the first admin I hired when she first came to me. Her biggest goal was to buy a house. She's closing on her house Friday this week. Yeah, she came to me looking for a job. I hired her, and that was her biggest goal, man. And she's only been with me 7 months, and 7 months in, we've gotten to the point where she was able to accomplish her goal. Just like the agents that work for me, one of my guys, Luke, real impressive guy, man. He's just 20 years old at Southern University. His biggest goal is to invest in real estate. And so we're mapping out his plan, man, as he's selling houses. He will, by the end of this year, have his first real estate investment. So that's one of the biggest things for me now, man, is just seeing the progress and the success of the people that's around me.
Right.
Because I feel like that's success when a lot of people around you are successful as well. Yeah. When you're creating successful people. So that's one of my biggest things right now, man, just being able to create more successful people.
Right. And I know you're serving the wider area right here, the Baton Rouge area, but do you have any plans on branching out like throughout the state or doing anything else?
Yep. So man, it's crazy that you mentioned that. So even with that guy Luke, he's from New Orleans, with the St. Aug.
That's my city.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna but that's my city.
And so that's just future plans for us to do what's called expansion teams. So, for example, right now I have a team here in Baton Rouge, but there's also a business model called expansion teams, where you basically take your processes, your systems and your tools, and you just duplicate that and drop it in other cities.
Right.
Hire agents, and you fund that business in that other city or in that other state. You take on all of the responsibilities of overhead and things of that nature, and you just give them the playbook on whatever you're doing in your city. Yeah, and so we're talking about expanding into New Orleans, and I'm also in conversation with some friends in DC, putting an expansion team out there, and one in Alabama.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
You dropped state.
So,
I was just thinking state.
So we're talking about putting prime properties in DC, Alabama, and New Orleans.
Okay,
That's pretty
dope.
cool.
That's
So,
dope.
you obviously, being a realtor, you're selling houses. What describe your services? What other services you provide?
Yeah, so not only do I do residential real estate, I also do commercial real estate, and we're heavy on helping people invest in real estate.
Okay.
Yeah, very heavy on that, because I mean that's what I started doing, investing in real estate, and so just helping people navigate through some of the struggles or through some of the things that they think, because a lot of people think that it's hard to invest in real estate, but it's really not that hard as they think it is to invest in real estate, and that's one of the biggest things that pretty much drives me to just showing people how they can do what they thought was impossible or do what they thought they couldn't do. Yeah.
I guess it's just about having discipline and saving and knowing where to put those savings and having somebody willing to teach you, because it's a very competitive field. A lot of people won't teach you how to get into it, but you have to have somebody like you who's willing to show us to get into it, and who's willing to show you that it's enough money out here for everybody to invest in real estate and recoup some money, and everybody wins.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. That's like I even teach realtors. Like I teach realtors. I do seminars for realtors just to teach them how to build their businesses, and even just having those one-on-ones with people. And a lot of times, some people may even think I'm crazy or wonder, well, why would you teach other people everything that you already do?
I was about to make a point about that. I'm gonna let you go.
But my thing is, if you look in our MLS and see how many houses sell a day, one person can't sell them all. I can't sell them all. So it doesn't do anything to me to help somebody else learn how to build their business.
Look, I'm about to mess your head up. I'm gonna have to come holler at you. I don't have my license for a year. I haven't done nothing with it. Haven't attempted to do nothing with it. Just been sitting up because I've been so busy with my business. I haven't really had a time to take back and invest what it takes into it, because I know it's not something you can just go in haphazardly and I don't want to half-tail it. So it's really something you need to take time for and invest more of your time. And the reason I got into it is because one day I want to sit back and watch my money work for me and put less time into what I do. Not saying that it don't take time to take real estate, but they see it. I'm editing 16 hours a day, and I don't want to live the rest of my life like that. To where
please don't.
I'm just always in my business, and in order for me to be moving my business forward, I always have to be working right now.
I mean, you keep working like that, man, you'll be all the way great.
So with that being said, we're gonna let y'all talk off air, but we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back right after this. All right, y'all, we're back, and we're trying to continue this conversation on just everything real estate. We got Realtor Rich. I'm gonna call him. That's the IG name. That's the IG name. But
I say that make you sound like you should buy a house from me. You know what I'm saying?
Realtor Rich. But yeah, man, we want to talk a little bit. I mean, we got your background and your story, how you got into real estate, but we also want to talk about home ownership and the importance of home ownership. I know for me personally, I had a roommate. And then when he got married, so we shared, split rent for years, And he got married, and I was just like, well, I'm not about to pay $1,000 in rent. Like, I'm about to put that on a mortgage or something. And so that's when I jumped into it. And I wasn't even thinking about the wealth generation piece of it, anything like that. But I want you to talk about the importance of home ownership, especially for like Black people, and how it's a significant way to build wealth for yourself.
Man, I can't talk enough about how important owning real estate, and I'm gonna just say owning real estate. I'm not gonna even say home ownership, because in different stages of your life, you may not need a home.
Right.
And that's okay. So if you're 21 years old, even if you're 24 years old and you're single, you don't have a family, and you want to live in the downtown condo, that's cool.
Right.
But you still need to own some type of property.
Right.
Like, so I'll never bash renting, because if I was 24 years old and I didn't have a family, I probably would be living in a downtown condo.
Right.
But I would still own rental properties.
Right.
I would still own something, because like I look at life like Monopoly. Like, you can't just pass go your entire life collecting $200 and not own anything.
Right.
You'll never win in life that way.
Never.
Yeah, you won't. And so just owning a home, that's gonna be one of your biggest investments, and it's so important because it's gonna accelerate your wealth. And when we talk about the average millionaire in America right now, the average millionaire is not what people think it is. It's not the person riding around in the Benz because it's not liquid. The average millionaire are net worth millionaires, and most of their assets are in real estate. Exactly. They became millionaires because they own a house here that's $150. They own another house here that's about $300K. They own another house here, and all of these assets has added up to where their net worth is now $1 million because the equity in the house. And now they're appreciating. And so when you think about, in most cases, most of my home buyers, they don't even put any money down. There's so many programs out here where, like, I have a young lady that's buying a house. She closes this Friday. She's getting a $113 check back at the table. And now she's about to own an asset that she can pass down to her kids. That same asset that somebody paid her to buy,
Right.
it's about to make her some more money. Because if she calls me in 5 years to sell this same house that she's buying for like $119 right now, in 5 years it may be worth about $130. So somebody gave her $113
Right.
to be able to make that in 5 years. Yeah. And if you're not doing this, like, you're crazy. I'm sorry. You're crazy if you're not letting your money or the lack thereof work for you, because we're now at a point where there's so many programs out here that you don't even necessarily have to have money.
But how do we get that information out to people? Because I know when I went to first buy my house, and I got my house through DSOD, just so you know, and
That's a great investment, though.
one of my friends told me about what they were offering. But beyond that, I didn't really have an idea about all the programs that were available to me. So how do we get that information out to people? Because I know sometimes people think it's a roadblock into home ownership or just even investing, because they're like, damn, I don't have that money for a down payment.
Right.
I don't have this, I don't have that. So how can we get that information out to people?
That's why I always tell everybody that process should always start with having a conversation with a very knowledgeable realtor. And one of the things that I did when I first started this business was I attended so many classes, so many seminars, just so I can be able to provide that knowledge and value to my clients. And I think that's why I've been able to sell so many houses, because we've been able to create so many situations and get real creative with whatever that person's situation is, because everybody's situation is different.
Exactly.
That's why still to this day I require everybody that's buying a house with us to come sit down with me and talk to me in person, because everybody's situation is different. There is no one size fits all for real estate.
Right.
But by me having a conversation with somebody in that buyer's consultation, I can understand what their particular situation is, and right off the top of my head, okay, you make this, you got this going on. This is the program that's going to be the best program for you. This is going to be the interest rate on that program. This is what they're offering you. And so it should always start with having a conversation with a knowledgeable realtor, and then from there having that buyer's consultation.
Right.
And then from there, the next step, once you have that conversation and we know what loan product fits you best, because make no mistake about it, all of these different type of mortgages and loans that we think of, these are just products.
Right.
If you look at it in the sense of what it really is, it's just a product. And different products make different sense for different people. And so that next step is always getting pre-approved. And I always ask my buyers, if you were selling a house for $150,000 and I came to you and said, I'll offer you $150 for your house, but then you came along and said, well, I'll give you $150 cash, which offer would you take?
Give me that cash, baby.
Exactly. When we think about it in the grand scheme of things, nobody's selling a house out of the goodness of their heart. You said the house giving you the check. That's just what it is. That's why that pre-approval is so important, because when we send a seller an offer on his home, they want to make sure the next 30 or 45 days they're going to get their check.
Right.
And so one of the things about me, and I tell all my clients, I'm never going to tell you what you want to hear, what I think you want to hear. I'm only going to tell you the truth.
Right.
And this is the truth, and that's what allows us to have leverage in multiple offer situations, because when we've taken the correct steps of having that pre-approval and we send our offer with it, and then some realtors who may not want to have that real conversation with someone and actually go out and take them to see houses without that, who offer you think is going to get accepted, the one with that pre-approval, where the seller's going to get his check, or the one where he don't know what's going to happen.
Right. All right. So I know you're going through the steps, but one quick question on the pre-approval. So what happens if somebody, their credit isn't the best, and so they don't get the pre-approval?
So that's a good question. So one of the things about getting financed for a loan, one thing we know about life is it's not perfect, so you don't have to be perfect. It's three major components that mortgage lending and lending institutions are looking for. They're looking for credit, that's one leg. They're looking for income in the form of money coming in and money saved. And they're also looking at your debt to income ratio. But the thing about getting financed for a house is you don't have to have a perfect 3 across the board. So let's say you don't have good credit, right? But you have a lot of income, money saved, and your debt to income is fine. Well, you would just have to put a higher down payment down, but you still get a loan because you got a strong 2 out of the 3. Or let's say your credit score is very, very high. Income is fine, but you don't I mean, your debt to income ratio is fine, but you don't have that much money saved.
Right.
Or we still can get you a loan because there's so many programs out there for that where
Right.
you can come to the table with no money down. Or let's say your debt to income ratio is kind of messed up. Maybe you have a high income, but you also have a lot of bills to go with that high
A
income.
lot of student loan debt.
Right. Yeah. But you have a strong credit score and you have a lot of money saved. You still have a strong 2 out of 3, so we still can get you financed. So keep that in mind. You don't have to have a strong 3 across the board. You just need a strong 2 of the 3. A lot of people don't know that, but that's the truth of the matter.
Gotcha. Okay. So what's the next step in the process?
So the next step is the step that everyone likes the most. I mean, that's actually going out into the market and touring homes. And so one of the things about touring homes is we have to keep in mind when I'm touring homes with clients, is just looking out for some of the things that I know would come up in inspections. I know what can be a red flag for appraisers to save my clients the hassle of going through the process and getting a home inspected that may just come back with some major issues. So we're looking at foundations and AC units, HVAC units, and roofs and things of that nature. And then from there, actually submitting that offer, writing a contract on the house, and looking at the comps, make sure it's priced right, because not everyone does this full time. We have a lot of hobbyists, and so they may not know how to price a home, but it's my job to protect my clients to make sure that we're not overpaying for a house.
Right.
Yep. And then, after that, next is the inspection process, and that's our opportunity to find out what's wrong with the house.
Gotcha.
Notice I didn't say if something was wrong
Right.
with the house. Yeah,
Right.
but what's wrong with it?
Because something's usually
it's wrong
wrong.
with all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Go.
oh, yeah, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I got a question. So, how often do you have to have that realistic conversation where, somebody might have this situation over here where they might not be making a whole bunch of money, but they want like a 5-bedroom house, or something wild like that. Like talk about that, because I'm pretty sure that that's like a common issue.
Yeah, it can be, man. So I'll say this: there's a great program called the Soft Second Loan Program by Louisiana Housing Corporation that has been able to help me a lot with that issue. So when I have clients who don't make a lot of money and they can't afford that house that they really want, there's a program that's been out for about a while now. A lot of people just don't know about it, but I've been able to get my clients as much as $55,000 in assistance money. And so, give you an example.
What's the
How I can get that?
how long?
You don't qualify.
Like I'm sure they have something
You
like
qualify.
you gotta live in a house for 10 years or something like.
Yeah.
They don't just give out 50 grand.
No, so nothing for free.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
And so you're right. It used to be 5-year forgiveness.
Yeah.
Now that 5-year has changed to 10-year forgiveness. But keep this in mind: that 10-year forgiveness is not you having to give them that money back. It's just that if you, for example, if you get $50K in assistance, right, we divide that by 10. Every year you're in the house, a part of that is being forgiven. So if you wanted to sell the house and you was in the house for 5 years and you received $50K, well, you can take that $25K in equity with you. The other 25 is going back to that program.
Gotcha.
So it's not like you're physically giving them any money back.
Right.
You just can't physically take that whole $50K with you if you try to sell it in a year.
Gotcha.
So it's still a win-win, and it's allowing people to be able to raise their price point without actually raising their mortgage. So I have clients who are in $150,000 and $160,000 houses, but are paying mortgages on $120,000.
Right. Okay.
So some of us that follow Realtor Rich on IG, we saw an interesting post that you put up today,
Oh yeah,
just informing people about some of the things that you should not do
yeah.
when thinking about home.
Please let the people know.
So we just want you to elaborate on that a little bit.
So here's the thing about that post. That's the 10 Commandments. That's what I like to call the 10 Commandments. And the thing about those 10 Commandments is they really written in stone, and they were written in blood because people have done these things
Right.
and lost the opportunity on buying a house. So one of the biggest things is once you start that process, wherever you are working, you have to continue working there. You cannot quit that job. You cannot become self-employed. You can't go out and buy any new vehicles.
Right.
Can't do that. You can't use credit cards excessively to let those accounts fall behind. If we have $6,000 saved for closing, because that's what it's gonna take for closing costs.
Leave it alone.
Can't touch that.
We can't take the trip. We can't take the trip yet. We can't go to Miami. Yeah, we gotta wait on that.
It's coronavirus anyway. Don't go nowhere.
Yeah, and this is a big one, man. We cannot go to Rooms to Go and buy the furniture. We can pick it out.
Right.
We just can't buy it yet until the day after closing. We've actually had someone buy the furniture the day of closing, and didn't have a house to put it in.
Gotcha.
That's tough.
Yeah, that's big, man. We can't originate any new inquiries into our credit. So big rule of thumb is once that lender has ran our credit, nobody else can touch it but her or him. Other than that, we can't change bank accounts. We can't make any large cash deposits. We can't take shoebox money and put it in the bank because it can't be sourced. Yeah, now if it's a large check,
So-
that can be sourced from another bank.
So what if it's like a gift from a parent or something like that?
That's gonna come in the form of a gift letter, and it
Okay.
has to come from a bank account where it can be sourced.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Well, yeah, you know, because like they want to know that you can afford it. So
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
if you give me $20,000 to sit in my account to make it look like I can get this house
Right.
So I'm gonna
to
tell
closing.
them
Yeah.
something I've been talking to y'all about. Cause self-employed, as self-employed, you can't be hiding money all year to not want to pay your
You
taxes.
got to show income.
You gotta
Got to.
Right.
You gotta show it. But
Yeah.
I've been telling them I know I want a new car at the end of the year, but I said I'm looking for a house first. And I gotta
Right.
buy a house first. And people ask me why you can't buy the car first? Cause don't nobody want to see that. I said the car dealership don't care.
Yeah.
But when you go for that mortgage, if you don't buy the car right before you bought a house, you messing with your debt to income.
Yeah, right.
So you can get the house and then go to the dealership, but they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
my self-employed people, you can write it off to death. You know, trying to keep the money from Uncle Sam, but if you don't show that income,
So let me ask you a question. So I'm interested in getting real estate, investing in real estate.
Yeah.
So what would you tell a person who's there's like a property that they trying to get at real estate, and then they also want to buy a home. So how would you handle that situation? Like there's an opportunity there to invest, but then you also trying to get a home in a few months.
So I would say that the investment opportunity will not hurt them with buying a house, because what's going to happen is that investment is going to show up on their balance sheet as an asset, not a liability.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to show up as an asset, not a liability. And the thing you have to do is you have to make sure that you're filing your investment properties on your taxes. Because if you're not filing them on your taxes, then they can't show up as an asset at that point. At that point, they're showing up as a liability because you're not claiming any income from that property. And so to the mortgage lender, this is now a liability because you're not saying you're getting income from this property.
Right.
So the key is to make sure
report
you're
it.
claiming these property taxes. And I learned this the hard way.
I think so. All right, before it starts making an income, is that kind of what you were going?
Well, basically, yeah. You
Like
need
trying to buy
report
two
it,
properties at the same time.
because even if you're not making income, you can at least show it as an asset.
Yeah. So to that point, it depends on your income and if it's going to actually affect your debt to income ratio.
Right.
Because the thing about it is just kind of give you an example. Let's say you're pre-approved for $300,000, right?
Right.
Let's say you buying it, but let's say you only really want to buy a house for $200,000, right? And let's say you go buy an investment property for $50,000. If you were pre-approved for $300,000 and you bought a house for $50K as an investment property, and you only want to live in a house at $200K, that's not going to stop you from buying a house because you didn't surpass your lid. That lid was $300K.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it don't have
So
to be
even
just one
even
property.
if it hadn't showed up as an asset yet, it's still not going to hurt you from buying a $200,000.
See, that's interesting.
So a
I'm-
lender will give you $250 for one and $50 for the other.
Yeah, because that's going to be the ceiling of your lid. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it, man. I remember when I first got my house and they pre-approved me for this big amount. I'm like, man, I don't need all this.
Yeah.
But I wasn't thinking about, hey, well, I still got like $150,000 gap. I can go still do something, go get a property. So I wasn't even thinking about that. But that's a good point.
see, all the ladies just heard that right there, and they're like, dang, he's married. they're like, okay, he must have income. he always talking about credit, so he must have good credit.
That's funny.
Hey guys, we're gonna take a quick break, but we will be back with more right after this. All right, everybody, we are back. We still got Realtor Rich here, man. What's going on, brother?
Yo.
Okay, you in there chilling with us, man. You know we got to talk about investing in real
Oh,
estate.
yeah, definitely.
You know, we can't have you here and not talk about that.
Right.
Right.
So I guess the golden question is, how does one get started?
man, this may not be the answer most people are expecting, but mindset. Yeah. You can't be an investor with a consumer mindset. It won't work.
Right.
And some of the things, and I'm a victim of it myself, so I had to change my mindset as well because I was definitely a big consumer. And in investing, I've been able to allow my investments to kind of buy the things that I like to consume at this point, but
That rich dad, poor dad
Yeah.
talking right there.
Yeah.
so definitely had to change my mindset, and some of the things that helped me with that was reading particular books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, what we mentioned, reading The Millionaire Next Door. The Richest Man in Babylon was the biggest one that taught me how to change my mindset and really save money. Because one of the things about it is no, you do not need a lot of capital to invest in real estate, but you do want to have capital saved.
Right.
You do want to create those habits of at least saving 10% of all of your income and getting in that habit, because there may come times where you're gonna have an opportunity that you want to take advantage of, and sometimes capital will be needed.
Right.
Now, also what I would say to that as well is the importance of partnerships. So when you're first getting into real estate, you don't always have to do it yourself. You don't always have to do everything yourself. You don't always have to take on a project by yourself, especially if it's your first project, and especially with flips, because flips is a whole different animal.
Right.
And I would say on your first flip to partner with someone that has done that before.
Right.
Because there's so many unknowns in flips, but at the end of the day, I still would say not do it, because one of the things that in the information age that we live in, everything's so readily available. You have Google, YouTube, and things of that nature. But we can get into a point where we're taking all this information, but we're not taking any action.
Right.
So the second step after changing that mindset is actually taking action, because we can go to so many seminars and classes on how to ride a bike, but if we actually start pedaling and falling and get back up and pedaling again, you'll never learn how to ride that
Right.
bike. So that second step is actually taking action after you surround yourself with people who are already doing it. It's a must that you surround yourself with people that are doing it, because you're gonna need advice.
Right.
You're gonna need help with it. One of the things that I did when I first started is there's a lot of meetups in Baton Rouge. One of the biggest one is called Ring Meetup, the Real Estate Investment Networking Group. They meet every second Tuesday of the month at the Hyatt.
You take these notes.
Yeah, I met my mentor there. Yep, I met my mentor at that real estate meetup. I met a lot of my other great friends in real estate that I've done partnerships with and just exchange ideas with, and have really learned how to invest in real estate. I met them all at that meetup. So that's one of the things that you need to do: surround yourself with the people that are already doing
Right.
whatever it is that you're trying to do. And so from there, you're going to learn how in some situations you may need capital, and in some situations you don't need capital. Just to kind of mention the BRRRR strategy. For people that don't know what that means, that's buy, that's rehab, that's rent, and refinance and repeat. And so what that allows you to do is that allows you to buy a property, renovate it, fix it up, rent it out, refinance to put all of the cash that you put into it, put that back in your pocket, and now you have a tenant in that property paying you every month, and so you're cash flowing, and all the money that you put into the property,
Got it back.
you got it right back to go do it again.
Right.
And so it allows you to scale. It really allows you to scale, and so in a situation you're really financing deals, and you're really not spending any of your money, because you're consistently putting your money back in your pocket. So that's just to kind of answer the capital. Sometimes you need capital, yes, or sometimes you don't. But
Right.
there's also local banks here in Baton Rouge, and I use one of them, man, just to give them a shout out. People's Bank. People's Bank, as long as there's enough equity in the property, you can be in a situation to where even at 20% down, if it's in the property enough equity, it can come out of that where you just signing your name.
Oh.
If you find that deal good enough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's dope. So I got a question. You know, you talk about real estate investing. This may be a silly question, but can individuals invest in real estate, or do you have to have some sort of business or LLC set up? And even if you can, is there a difference between the two? Is there an advantage over one over the other?
So LLCs are for protection.
Right.
That's what an LLC is for. It's for protection. Is to protect your personal assets. So, for example, when you have your assets in a business name, what that does is it protects someone from being able to sue you personally. They can only sue that business.
Right.
And so it gets deeper, this is some things I actually learned from my CPA and I actually chose him because he's a commercial real estate investor. And he taught me to separate my properties and put them in different LLCs because if one tenant want to sue me in one property, and all of the properties, because at one point everything was under my sales business LLC. Everything was just under one LLC.
So
he taught me how to break it all up under umbrellas. And now if someone sues my sales business, they can't touch any of my rental properties. If someone sues one rental property, they can't touch the other rental properties or the sales business. So everything is protected.
So I was going to ask that question actually. I'm glad you said that because I've heard, like, I know guys who put all their properties under one LLC. I know guys that put maybe 5 properties in the LLC, then put the rest in another LLC. So are you saying put each individual property in a different LLC?
So what I will say is there's no right or wrong way to it. That's just what he taught me.
Okay.
And when he taught it to me, it made sense. Yeah.
It's just what you're comfortable with, because like he said, because with real estate, he can LLC his name as the business, and most people they be like, well, I already got this set up, so I'm gonna run with this name.
Right.
But say he does something wrong, God forbid, or has a mistake, and somebody wants to sue the real estate company, they can
Right.
come after all his properties because it's tied to the
To
LLC.
that same
Right.
business.
Anything under that LLC.
Yep.
And
That's a bunch of
you
tax
can't, you
returns.
can't set up the LLC, all these LLCs, and run everything out of one bank account.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
Say that for the people again.
Just for the
it's
record.
good. It's good to have that as an investor, especially if you're gonna have properties that you rent out, because that tenant fall and break their neck on your property, they're gonna sue you personally because you ain't got an LLC. If you just an individual rent out to people.
I created that LLC.
Well, I'm just saying that the biggest thing that
I'm listening to the
jam
lawyer.
people up is commingling. the
No, I wasn't
funds.
talking about the co-mingling of the funds. I know you need different. I know
It's
you.
from LLC to LLC or personal or whatever. You gotta keep all the funds separate.
Yeah, I know that because a Chroma has a different account from Mosaic. His wedding in the studio is different from that. So I learned that early on.
Right.
It's called piercing the corporate veil,
Yeah.
and they'll get all the money.
Yep. Definitely learned that early on, man. But what I will say is this: when you're first starting, you don't have to go out and create an LLC when you're first starting, because when you first create that LLC, you may not be able to actually go out and buy properties. Well, I say this: you won't be able to go out and finance properties in the LLC's name. You can cash out on properties, but you won't be able to finance properties in the LLC name until you
you
start
ain't built
generating some
credit.
income. Yeah.
Because they're gonna still be using your personal information anyway.
Something I didn't know.
Well, another thing is getting adequate insurance.
Right.
You know, if you have adequate insurance, then the insurance is gonna take care of it. It only happens. They only gonna come looking for more money if there's not adequate insurance money to cover whatever the issue is.
Right.
So
Hey.
something I didn't know. So you can, when you first register your business, you can go get a little small trade line with something like Uline or somebody that report to Dunbar and Bradstreet. You don't always have to use your personal, but you want. If I would have known what I knew now back then, I would have had 5 years of little small trade line accounts reporting to my business credit, because it's separate from personal credit.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to go literally set that up for it to report to a business credit. I would have had it running for 5-6 years, and I could have $3-4 million trade lines by this time if I would have did this 5 years ago. I have them reporting to it now.
Right.
But you can set up small $300-400 a month trade lines, and they give you more. Mine, I think, triple or quadruple every time I pay off a bill. So if you set up an LLC now, go report that to Dunn and Bradstreet. I think that's the name of it. Yeah, Dunn and Bradstreet.
Gonna
Go-
talk to you about that after the podcast.
so, yeah, set up a small trade line with them, and it's stuff as small as you paying off toilet paper and office supplies with them, and they give you a bigger trade line, and it reports to a business trade line account. And people don't know that it's a whole different trade. It's a whole different business credit that reports for businesses than it does to your personal. So you can mess around and afford a $3-4 million property off the jump when you want to 3-4 years later, because you've been reporting these small amounts for years.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it's also the same as personally. You get your business credit card. You know, be responsible.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, a lot of people don't know is with small businesses, the first time you go to get credit because you don't have no credit for these big purchases, they're gonna go off your personal.
Yep.
If you've been reporting this for this many years, they ain't even gotta touch your personal. They're gonna go straight off of what your business been doing and how you've been being responsible with that business. So you ain't gotta tap into your business. You ain't gotta pull no more from your. So you can qualify for $4 million on your business and then go qualify for something else on your personal and not even touch each other.
Gotcha.
Well, I mean, technically you'll go down as a guarantor, personally, but it won't impact you personally
Right.
as far as your credit.
As long as you pay.
In some cases, you won't have to do a guarantee.
No, you don't have to.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you've been in business long enough and they just pull that Dun and Bradstreet report, you don't have to be a
I
guarantor.
understand. I'm talking about when you first starting out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You try and get that line of credit.
So,
But I will say this too, though. Even when you're first starting out, if personally, because there's some local banks here that if you have a personal credit score above 800, they'll allow you to get an unsecured line of credit in your business LLC name and not have to sign as a guarantor. If they see your personal is above 800, because I'm guessing they feel like they can trust you at that point.
so I got a line of credit in the business I created. So, yeah, that good credit. No, but I got a question to kind of follow up on the topic of just investing in entrepreneurship. So, I was watching something, homegrown, so a video you did.
Oh, yeah, record.
Yeah, and, you know, you were talking about your fears. You know, you're scared of heights. And so, just in general, I guess, in entrepreneurship, and even in just jumping into investing, I know people just have that fear. I mean, I had it for a long time.
Yeah.
And so, what would your advice be to people to, like, overcome those fears?
I would say intentionally do things on purpose to face them. So just kind of piggybacking off of that interview, I just shared with them about my fear of heights. And at this point, I don't even think I'm that scared of heights anymore. But I was intentionally doing things back then just to kind of face those fears, like skydiving, did that. There's a pyramid in Mexico that they'll actually still allow you to climb it. And man, it's up there, climb that pyramid. I did one in Guatemala. It's a pyramid out there that we climbed. Just to kind of continuously face those fears.
Right.
Yeah, and just do it intentionally. That's like, it may not seem like it, but I do have a fear of public speaking. And so I intentionally put myself in situations to where I have to do that. That's just like this weekend. Like, I didn't tell Gary, but man, hosting the Black Ball, I was nervous as I don't know what to,
Yes,
to
I
do
saw
that.
that.
Yeah,
I saw that.
because I do have a fear of public speaking as well. That's just like when I'm doing seminars. It may not seem like it, but I do. So I intentionally put myself in situations to overcome whatever those fears
gotta
are.
face those challenges.
Face those challenges.
Nah, that's dope. That's
Yeah,
dope.
so I would just say that intentionally do things to face those fears.
That's why I slowed down, skydive, because I was afraid of heights, but the scariest part is the ride up.
It's like, wow.
Yeah. Nah, I'm still not skydiving.
But you want to go shark? You want to go in a shark cage?
Hey, I face that fear.
Nah, buddy.
Nah.
Both of y'all tripping. Y'all can have both of them things.
I mean, it is what it is, but the only reason I asked, man, because I feel like, and being that I've been reading more real estate books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and stuff like that, there's so many people I see that they block their dreams and their blessings because they're scared to take that leap of faith, or not even say a leap of faith. Like, there could be reason and logic behind the moves you make. It's just sometimes you're just scared to make that actual move.
You know what else too? I also think some people are scared to be successful as well.
You think so?
I do.
Some people scared to be successful, but I think a lot more people are scared of people thinking they failed.
Yeah.
Me, I don't care.
Yeah, me either.
I'm gonna jump into every business I have head first, and if it work, it work. If it don't, it don't.
Right.
Well, it's just like he said at the beginning, it's mindset.
Yeah.
You know, like if you go into it with the mindset of succeeding or failing, like you got to go into it with the mindset, I'm gonna get this done.
Right.
You're like, even if I have to fail, 5-6 times, like
Facts.
I'm gonna get this done. Like you can't go into it with the mindset like I'm gonna do this until I fail.
Right.
Right.
Either I pass or fail.
Right.
I mean, you're right, and also something you said earlier. Talking about being on the train, being a conductor. I read somewhere that somebody said your salary is how much they pay you to give up on your dreams. And just imagine had he just taken that conductor salary, because
He said he got complacent for
you
a
was,
little
you was
while.
making some good money. You got wife, 2 kids. Y'all was living straight. You know what I mean?
I'm not gonna say that it's about being your career and what you do is also about being in a place of where you're happy.
Yep, I would
Because
say
I
that.
made a lot more when I was tattooing, but I'm more at peace now than what I am now. And and entrepreneurship is not for everybody. It's sometimes it's better to have that steady income. It's guaranteed, and have those health benefits to where it's paid for and somebody else is taken care of. Because if you get in entrepreneurship, then guess what?
Oh, that insurance ain't
seems,
nice.
it seems like you're making more money now, but it's got more stuff you got to pay for on the back end. You got to pay for all your health care out your pocket now. If you get employees, you got to pay for health care for them. If you got to pay insurance on your own now. You got to do all that stuff on your own. So it seems like one might be better than the other one, but it's a lot of things you have to weigh out.
I'm actually glad you said that because I feel like in this day and age, it seems like everybody's so focused on being a boss or being an entrepreneur. And really, you ain't even built for that life. Like, you're not even built for it, but you're talking about it. But there's nothing wrong if you got a good career, you an engineer or a CPA, and you working for Exxon or somebody. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I wish I had somebody
Ain't
that
nothing
had
wrong
my
with that.
mindset for me to be in the place that I am, and me to still make what I
Right.
make, and me to have health insurance and all that without it affecting me.
Right.
So if I can work for somebody that I still made the same amount of money that I make right now,
Right.
and I can have the freedom that I do, then I would.
And another thing is, like, you can also have the entrepreneur mindset while working for a corporation.
Yes.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
It's not like mutually exclusive. Like,
Because man, working for somebody like Exxon or the people that you got 401ks, you got early retirements, you got IRAs, you got so many things that you could be stacking and putting to the side that you're not paying for a lot of stuff that you could be. You really can stack a lot more in a situation like that. Than,
Obviously, I wasn't trying to be hypocrite because I'm in corporate America. But
but
you know, like a lot of people, a lot of people
overglorify.
They do, and a lot of people also are doing things that's not making them happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes you could be in corporate America and you could be happy and you could like what you do, but a lot of times, I think a lot of people get complacent because they'll get complacent with the amount of money that they make, and they get comfortable with that, and they don't try to do anything more or anything different, even if their career isn't necessarily fulfilling.
But it's life.
Yeah.
On both sides.
Yeah.
Some people, you've been an entrepreneur half a many years, you ain't making no money.
They don't want to get a job, right? And they don't want to get a job, right?
Yep. So I think at the end of the day, success is not a monetary value. I honestly think it's what you said. Is success is just being able to wake up, and that's just my take on it. I could be wrong. It's being able to wake up and do something every day that makes you happy.
Correct.
To me, that's my version of success.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I agree with you. I never had a boss where I liked the situation. I was like, I don't want no bosses.
Right.
If I had a boss that was real cool, I could have made a reasonable amount of money.
Maybe
I
so.
might have a job.
And not everybody wants to be a boss, and that's okay. And that's why
Yeah.
I hate that sometimes social media kind of villainizes having a career, having a job as
Right.
if that's a bad thing.
Right.
It's not.
Like, if you taking care of your family and you making good money, like, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Because make no mistake about it, though, even as a business owner, especially like if you're self-employed and not a real business owner yet, because if you can't step away from it and it still runs,
You self-employed.
you self-employed.
Right.
And don't get it twisted. You still have a job too. You just happen to own it.
Right.
And you still have bosses. That's like me. Like, people think I don't have a boss, but I do. All of my clients are my bosses.
Because they're paying you to provide a service.
people
Huh?
don't.
Yeah, all of my clients, I have several bosses.
I joke with
Yeah.
myself all the time, even though I call myself my boss sometimes. I say my boss won't let me off. That's because I know I got more work to do to get where I want to be. And until, like, even if you that big corporation boss, man, you gotta be clocking serious dollars.
Yeah.
You gotta have your stuff in order because you gotta pay all this health
Correct.
care.
Yeah.
Once you have a certain amount of employees, you gotta pay health care. You gotta pay insurance.
And
you get
it depends on the company, because you're a public company. You got shareholders to worry about.
Yeah.
well,
The board of directors to worry
Even if
about.
you- even if you was a smaller one, you get taxed on top of what you paid them. And then if you want to pay yourself, you get taxed again. So yeah, you really got to have your big boy stuff together.
Yeah, brother.
That's the part people don't see.
You know, say something powerful, man. Social media gets you bent real quick. Like, don't
Yes.
get me wrong, it's one of the biggest blessings and curses all rolled into one that we got to date. You know what I mean? Because social media is a powerful tool, but at the same time, it'll get you bent. It'll get you bent real quick.
Make
If
your
you
perception
if
is
you
worse.
if you're not in the right place, or if you down about what you're doing, social media can be really, really depressing.
Right.
Like, and I've let it get to me sometimes. Me thinking I'm not in the place that I want to be, or where I want to be, or looking at how everybody else living.
How they portraying.
And that's what I was about to get to. But people, you got to realize that social media is everybody putting the best of themselves in the moment you want them to see themselves on that social media.
Watching social media, you think people vacationing on yachts all year, and they sitting over there with that negative network.
That's real.
Right.
That's real.
Facts.
Yeah, man, no doubt.
But yeah, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back, and we're going to have a book recommendation. We're going to have our black prominent figure. You know we do this all year round, not just during Black History Month. But we're going to do it right after this. All right, everybody, we back. We still got Realtor Rich. Look, man, you done gave us about 20 books off air. Can you just give us like the top 3 book recommendations for the people?
Man, that's real hard for me. Every time somebody asks me about books.
Well, put in the one we said you had to give. The one that Stan was about to write down.
Oh, what, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
mean, whatever book recommendation you want to give, man, we just, like I said, we just want to highlight literacy and the importance of reading more. So if that's your book, or you want to drop 3 books, that's cool, man.
So I would say this. Think and Grow Rich is definitely a great book to change your mindset from a consumer to an investor.
Mm-hmm.
The Richest Man in Babylon is an amazing book
Got both
to
those.
teach you how to master money and how to make money work for you. And there's a book by Napoleon Hill called Outwitting the Devil, which is the follow-up to Think and Grow Rich, which will show you the difference between someone who is goal-oriented and someone that's not.
Right.
And show you the difference in between what your life is going to look like when you're setting goals and when you're going through life just drifting, not setting any goals at all.
Right.
But man, it's so many books I can recommend, but I think those top 3 books would definitely add value to someone's life.
And rich, what a coincidence! All those books were linked to being rich.
Rich. Yeah, we'll definitely post those in our description for this podcast and on IG whenever we post the episode.
Yeah.
He made me go
Now-
get an Audible subscription.
Audible the truth, don't sleep on it.
I said, look, man.
And Audible give you a lot of free books.
But
They
look,
do.
It made me kind of weird when it was $14.95 a month because I got a lot of subscriptions. But I said, this knowledge just works.
But you get 1 book for free, and then you get 20% off all books.
Yeah.
And so
you know you can exchange books, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, I mean, now it's no excuse.
Yeah.
Like it's no excuse. You know what I'm saying? None.
And I keep a running tab of every book I've ever read. From when I'm having conversations with people, we always talking about it, and just to send. So I can send y'all all of the books that I've ever read.
Oh, you got an Excel sheet or something?
Huh?
You got an Excel sheet or
I
something?
keep it in a notes so I
Okay.
can email it or text it to you.
Oh yeah, send that to the email.
I'm gonna send it to y'all.
All right.
GP, I believe you have our black prominent figure.
I do. So we had somebody prepared, but Rich came in and gave us an audible. So
All right.
so we could go ahead and talk about one Ben Slayton, and this was a conversation we had off air. We felt like it'd be really, really appropriate to talk about the first black realtor, the first black registered realtor in the United States, since we have a black realtor with us.
Right.
So Ben Slayton was obviously the first black realtor. He's also the first black owner of a Century 21 franchise and also the first Freddie Mac multi-family program plus seller in the United States. So, you know, it was interesting.
What was the time frame on this?
This brother is 53 years of age.
Yeah.
So he's still around.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So it's recent.
So yeah, recent. That,
Okay.
So I
Let's not
was kind of
forget
surprised.
redlining was not that long ago.
And we want
Right.
to
Right.
also point out he probably not the first black person to sell real estate.
But he's the first black registered realtor
he's
registered
Part
in
of
the
the
United
National
States.
Association.
The realtors, yeah.
Because that's a registered trademark when you see realtor.
Yeah.
So and if you think about it, we have a lot of black prominent figures on you know on this podcast, and we talk about the contributions of people born in the 1800s. We talk about all these people who did stuff way back when.
That's why
this man only 53. This man not even 20 years old enough. So that goes to show like that we need some more black realtors out there.
Yeah.
And hats off to brother Slayton, and also hats off to Realtor Rich, man. You know, good work, brother.
Appreciate it, man.
Cut me a little bit with that one, man. Talking about he 53 and how close we are in age.
Well, I mean, like 20. I was almost 20 years.
I'm about to say, he ain't 20 years older than nobody at this table.
That's true. But I was doing the math and I'm
But for the,
we closer than I feel comfortable.
but for the record, I'm the youngest one at the table.
That's all good.
Yeah, that won't matter in 20 years. Anyway, man. Hey, before we get out of here, man, we gotta ask you for your top 5 MCs, brother. We talked about this in advance. You had
Hey,
some time
Izzy, he
to
don't have
consider.
Pusha T, all right?
No, man. I think I've always been heavily influenced by East Coast culture.
Okay.
In New York, so that's probably why my top 5 is filled with East Coast rappers, and in no particular order. I'm gonna throw that disclosure out there, but I would say Hove, Jay-Z, of course.
Okay, that's definitely.
Nas,
Okay.
Fabulous, Biggie, and Pop. It's my top 5.
Fabulous good flow.
Fabulous.
Yeah. I feel like he's always been underrated, man.
I will accept him over Pusha T.
Oh yeah.
But I wouldn't put him.
But DMX is
I wouldn't put him close to top 5.
DMX always your one. I don't know.
DMX
He was always
DMX will make my 10.
DMX when him and Jay-Z went 1-on-1.
Yeah, but
He destroyed.
He been down in the DMX mixtape.
Yeah, I
so
know.
not that I'm gonna make you lose my mind up in here stuff.
Yeah, I ain't talking about pop DMX.
Like the
you know
real
what I'm saying?
stuff.
Yeah, commercial
The
DMX.
stories about they infamous battle though is big, man. It's
X is a
always
fool,
interesting
man.
hearing it from different sides of different teams, you know, because the Rock crew gonna tell you that Jay-Z won.
Right.
Yeah.
Nah. But not JJ. He my top though. So
He my favorite rapper of all time, but he's got cut up a lot by a bunch of different people over the years. Yes, absolutely.
But Jay just a different. I mean, he just a different
Yeah,
breed,
yeah.
man. Like I listen to Jay. I'll get motivated. I'm listening to Jay.
He might have got outdone on 1 or 2 songs by people appearing or a
Eminem
couple
ate
lanes, but longevity
Eminem
wise,
ate him.
Renegade, Eminem ate him, but longevity wise, ain't nobody doing it better than Hov. But Pac's still above him in my book.
I mean, I'm not gonna argue.
I'm not saying you crazy for that. I just don't agree. But I mean,
Let's
that's
wrap this
respectable.
thing.
Yeah.
Man gonna argue off the air.
Anyway, we need to know how the people can find you. We understand you have a new app.
Yeah, man. So definitely can find me all over social media. I'm always engaged. I'm always interacting with everybody via social media. On Instagram, you can find me at realtor_rich_. I'm all over Facebook at Richard Spears, and even on LinkedIn at Richard Spears. And this new app, man, we're definitely excited about this app because one of the things about this app is this is built for consumers. It's built and it's interactive with consumers. So this is actually an ongoing process, which is why we're constructively asking for feedback because what we're doing with this consumer app is we're creating a consumer experience, and it's actually being built based on the feedback that we're getting from everybody that's beta testing it right now. So because the whole goal is to be able to take a transaction, buying a home from point A to point B, and making it almost like buying a home for dummies, if that makes sense. Yeah, to make this as easy as possible to where anyone feels like they can buy a home. So not only is it a search engine to where you can actually search for properties and things of that nature, but we have guides built within this app that's going to be able to take you from point A to point B and teach you what's going on every step of the way, and it's also interactive. So it's ever changing, it's ever improving. And if you connect with me on social media, I'll definitely be happy to share that app with you, so you can beta test that with us as we continue to roll it out.
That's cool.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think that's a great idea because you look at people walking around, everybody got their phone in their hand.
Yeah.
So that's brilliant. So you beta testing it. What's the ETA for it to drop like Apple and Google Play?
So it's actually what we're doing with it right now is, as we work out all the kinks and continuously get feedback from people that's going to make it even better, we're going to drop it in Apple. I mean, you can get a version of it from Apple. It just won't be the version that I'm beta testing right now, which is why you have to get it directly from us.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
Because what we're doing is, in our back office, is we're constantly changing it based on the feedback. That's just like a girl let me know last week, hey, it'll be real cool if I could just type in only homes for pools. I ain't
Right.
that. Yeah, so
Right.
back, hey, we need to update this to where if someone's typing in, they only want to see houses with pools, it comes up. So just as we're continuously getting feedback, we're going to continuously update this and change this to make the consumer experience second to none.
Right.
Yeah, that's
when it
cool.
comes to buying a house.
So it's the best way to like DM you or email you and to get that information to get the beta test?
You can DM me, you can email me. Hell, put my phone number out there, 225-341-9083. You can text me, email me.
Yeah, we'll be sure to put
Yeah.
it in the description so people can know how to reach you.
Absolutely.
Reach me on social media.
And I'm gonna hit you about being a beta tester too.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So look, we are well over an hour. At this
Right,
point.
right.
If you have listened up to this point, like the entire episode,
And dropping
you're
gems.
not following us, come on now.
You're making a big
Come on.
mistake.
You
Follow
need to
us.
subscribe. You need to share this with a few friends.
A lot of friends.
I mean, this is some real information
Right.
we're giving you. And feel free to hit us up, man. We want to hear your feedback. We want questions, information y'all need, things y'all want to hear about.
Right.
Give it to us. We ready. Man, we appreciate you coming in,
Yeah,
bro.
definitely, bro. Definitely.
You really did drop the gems on us
Yeah,
today.
we learned some things too.
That is it, y'all. Hope
And-
you enjoyed it.
All right.
We are out.
Peace.